Right, so everybody, welcome to the March meeting of Wedmore Parish Council. And to begin the meeting, I must remind everyone in attendance and who will be participating in the meeting that this meeting may be filmed, recorded, photographed or otherwise recorded. And as before, this meeting is being filmed and recorded. Okay, right, so do we have any apologies?
Yeah, apologies from Mike Bethel, Richard Burden and Diana
Bayless. Okay. Reports from county district councillors. Well, David, it looks like it's down to you.
Thank you, Chairman. I apologise for not coming to the last meeting because it was exactly a month ago. It was budget day at County Hall, and having sat there from possibly 7 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock, I think I needed a little bit of rest and relaxation. So apologies for that. So I didn't come. So, but I have a few things to report. As I've certainly had my council tax bill in the last couple of days. I'm sure you have, and you'll see that we've managed to freeze the county council part of the council tax, which is the biggest chunk. Again, and that's 6 years in a row we managed to do that. It seems like all the other authorities sneak theirs up all the time, and I can't for the life of me remember what you put yours up, or even if you did. Well, if you didn't, bless you, because I think that's the spirit of things. So we will see. I mean, I don't know how much longer we can continue to do that, but as long as the government gives us something towards the council freeze grant, we will continue to do it. We also set the capital programme for next year, which is £57 million of extra spending next year, largely for new schools and stuff. We're getting a tremendous demand for primary school places in our major towns. And rather sadly, declining in primary school places, declining for primary school places in villages, because I think I think people are reluctant now to drive their children from the towns to the villages, which is probably what they did some time ago. But pretty good news, because again we're not borrowing any more money to fund our capital programme. It's a mixture of grants and asset sales, as always. On a sort of wider picture from the County Council, we're now beginning to be hit with shortages of key staff. I used to always stand in front of you and say it's all about the money. It's actually not about the money now. It's about the fact that some of the staff that we need, a good example would be highway engineers, don't appear to want to come and work in Somerset, as do, as you would imagine, all the issues around children's social care and adult social care. Very, very difficult to encourage people to go into those professions. I guess with all the bad publicity and that, you wouldn't find that surprising, really. Again, it's not an issue of money. It's a question of, you know, we just can't find them. So we're trying to grow our own, but it's a long process. Just on a local thing, I gave you some community car scheme leaflet last time, didn't you? I don't know if you've got any further thinking about that. The clerk will also have had the details of the consultation about the Theale speed limit, so that's in hand. Again, I was rather hoping we would be sticking some bits and pieces up by now, but apparently the consultation, we didn't consult with a key person, a person who owns some land down there, so we have to start all over again. And the other thing at full council last time, which was a bit puzzling, and I'll be interested in some feedback from the parish council, the current member of parliament came down, asking questions and complaining about the traffic calming. Have you had any complaints or letters from her?
I had an inquiry from the PA, to Tesselman's PA, a while ago, an email asking about the consultation period on the zebra crossing at Bristol, and what was happening about it up there. Was there any ongoing discussion? And I did point out to her there had been a fatal accident up there very recently. There was an inquest taking place and police inquiries, and the parish council had already decided we we're going to look at this thing anymore until after that inquest had been resolved and finalised. And I left it like that. And
because when the scheme was first put in, I mean, I did promise that we would keep it under review for 6 months, or indeed in 6 months' time we'd come back with a conclusion. I think it generated in certain quarters so much activity that we kept it under constant review, and we have tinkered with it. We're never going to please everybody all the time, but anecdotally, the people who live near there tell me that the traffic has slowed down and it's done its job. But I'm always interested with feedback from...
I think, Chairman, there are a couple of people up there who are totally opposed to it, as you're well aware of, Dave. And we're never going to satisfy everybody, as you say. But I've told those people as well that the Parish Council will not even look at this crossing again until after the result of the inquest is known. And,
yes, okay.
That's probably the best way of doing it.
Can I offer some feedback? I've had quite a lot of feedback about people who use it frequently notice that actually they think it's more dangerous, not because of the crossing, but because of the traffic calming, and people tend to, who it's not their right of way, and they speed up to go through the gap before the oncoming traffic, whose right of way it is, gets there. And I have experienced that myself on a number of occasions.
So
I think, you know, the feedback is that they feel that the traffic calming isn't working. It's not about the crossing particularly, although there have been comments about the lighting is probably inadequate.
Inadequate. Most people complain it's too much.
Well, it's inadequate as you come into the village. As you come into the village with a 30 sign, because it's obscured by something. That's what I've been told. I haven't experienced it myself, so I don't drive there at night.
Right.
But yeah.
Well, traffic calming is, I mean, just in your neighbouring village of Mark, I mean, the traffic calming down there has been a source of constant criticism. But it has slowed the traffic down. But you can't stop bad drivers. I mean, the other day I was coming this way, so that is easterly, and there was a car coming the other way towards me through the traffic calming, so I stopped at where you stop. I need to be overtaken by somebody who then swerved in front of the person, and I'm thinking, what on earth is going on here?
People from West End pull out when you're stopping. People pull out in front of you because they can see you slowing down, and then they pull out in front of you, and it's your right way.
And unfortunately, and as I've explained before, you could not have a zebra crossing without the traffic calming. That's the rules. So, unfortunately, you can't have one without the other, because we are saying all the time that the only way you can physically slow people down is by doing it physically, putting things in their way. And they're a bit urban, and we knew they were. But there we are. I mean, you can't take away the traffic calming and have the pedestrian crossing.
There's a couple of points I'd like to make. I wrote to you, or at least I wrote to Somerset County Council in November after the 6 months were up, and put our views. Most of these issues are actually from the Parish Council in writing at Somerset. I think there was only one issue they actually did anything about, which was to put a leave clear area in front of West End.
Yeah.
So the second point you make about there always being bad drivers is true. The only problem is when you start putting obstructions in the road, the bad drivers become dangerous, and that's the problem. That there may be bad drivers, but at least they're not going to have a crash or do any damage if the road's clear. But once you put something in the road, a bad driver, unfortunately, does become dangerous. And that's why people like Will Danning said, in their experience, they were dangerous, not because they didn't slow traffic down or traffic speed up, but because people who couldn't cope with them became dangerous, to put it bluntly. And that's why, personally, when I wrote my letter on behalf of the Transport Committee, I can't remember, it was 6 months after it went in, we recommended that the one that is at the church side of the Wedmore side of the zebra crossing was actually removed, because that's actually in a 30-mile-an-hour zone anyway, so it shouldn't need to slow traffic down. The one at the other end of the village, there's an argument for, because traffic is coming in at quite some speed and probably does need slowing down. So I think there is scope. Frankly, I'd like to see where it is in legislation that says if you've got a zebra crossing, you have to have traffic calming, because there's plenty of zebra crossings around that don't have traffic calming.
Yes, but they are actually historic zebra crossings.
Okay.
So the new legislation, I should have phrased it probably correctly, new legislation tells me you can't have one without the other. But I will find it for you. But, you know, there still seems to be some disquiet about it, Chairman, so we'll keep looking at it.
I think Jessica wanted to say something.
Yeah. David, I will agree with Lindsay. Coming from Highbridge night times, and we do it quite a bit, the lights are not good enough at that calming that end.
Okay.
They're not. You cannot see it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? My husband keeps on to me about it because he's regular that way.
This is away from the house. isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's down by the school, just the other side there. It just is bad. You cannot see. It's not the when you get there you can, but not from a distance. It isn't good enough lit. That's
Okay.
all I will say.
Okay.
I mean, if it's standard lighting, well, that's we have to accept it. But I think that's what's causing some of the trouble.
I think it's the sign of the traffic calming. It's nothing to do with the pedestrian crossing.
No, nothing.
It's
No.
the recreational field end of the traffic calming. The
Yeah.
warning signage is not clearly visible enough at night. That's
No.
what I've been
Okay.
That's true.
Okay. Right. Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, a good point. Obviously. I mean, I will get the engineer. I mean, the engineers are very, very sensitive about it because whereas I get letters from one or two individuals, they get letters from quite a lot of people about it. So I do know that they do cause a lot of local disquiet, traffic calming measures, which is why I always say to people, are you sure you really want them? And the parish council were saying, and very supportive, and said, yes, we need the crossing, and yes, if we need the crossing, we have to have the calming. So that's how we got to where we are today. I guess with the developments going on, as we heard this evening, at the playing field, that might give us an opportunity to put some modifications in down at that end. I don't know. I think there will need to be some better lighting down there anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Happy to answer any other questions, Chairman, if you've got any.
I've got one question on that. Along by the cemetery,
Right, okay.
when the road was supposed to be shut, basically, why is it not gone ahead? Is it because the council never bothered to check who actually owned the hedge?
Are we talking, this is the Theale bit?
No.
Tender Road.
Okay, so what's not going there?
It was supposed to be shut, and you can see where they started doing work.
Madam Chairman, if we could help, between Wedmore and Cheddar, Wedmore Cheddar, just going out of Wedmore, where the cemetery is on the right-hand side.
Oh, sorry, I'm with
There was an advertised road closure
Okay.
for so many days there while
Okay.
the Highways Department doing some
And
work.
clearly they started doing work, because you can see where they've taken the hedge, or part of the hedge, and
Right.
I had an email from them saying that they were now cancelling that operation and applying for another road closure in the future because of some, they hadn't conferred with the landowner properly or something like that. And the pavement. I think it's badgers undermining the pavement. That they
Oh,
but,
our old friend the Badgers.
yeah.
Yes,
It's
okay.
probably,
Right.
I don't know when they're going to plan to do it now, but the barriers.
Well,
are in place.
I refer to my original comment as we're very, very short of troops to do this sort of thing. And again, we do have rather a lot of money sitting in the pot unspent from last year, and now we're in the next year. So
But I'm sorry, but isn't that part of normal procedure before you engage in an activity like that? Consultation with the landowner has to take place before it can proceed. I don't see how that can be lack of staff. That's lack of procedural correctness.
well, you know, if you wish, I mean, I'll go away and shout at somebody on your behalf, but that doesn't affect where we are today.
Well, no, but what you're saying about Theale is that can't go ahead because nobody's consulted with somebody who owns the land. There's a bit of a pattern forming. Somebody's not doing their job. It would seem that nobody's consulting with the landowners and following process.
Yeah.
I'm not aware of this.
That's how it appears to me.
Okay, right, good.
Yeah.
Maybe, Rod, you will write down some of these comments and send me an email. That'll be very kind, thank you.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have any declarations of interest? Right, minutes of the meeting held on the 18th of February. No comments, okay. Just the two pages? Matters arising from the minutes?
I've got nothing on here.
Do we have any schedule for the work on the allotment clock last year?
Unfortunately, Mike Bethel, Chairman, is not here tonight, and I can't answer that. I know he's going away to get it sorted, so it's firmly in his hands. So.
Yeah, the last conversation I had with him was that it was in hand and it would be done, but he didn't think it would be done over the next couple of weeks. So, right. So we're on to 1536. I'm not sure what that says.
Yeah, there's one issue on the accounts. It looks like the adding up summary in the spreadsheet has not worked properly. It's put a zero in where there should be some money, but the books do balance.
They do balance. It's just that there's a
it's just a figure missing for one of the boxes because the adding up.
I mean, I will sort of say, I mean, I am looking at Merit and Co. legal advice. You know, it does seem quite a horrific amount.
Yeah.
And, you know, for the benefit of councillors who are here wondering why Merit and Smith wants another £3,663, I think we're up to draft 5 of the 106 agreement. And, you know, sort of on draft 3, certain things were agreed, and we thought, sort of signed off, okay, that's fine. But then, when we get to version 5, the things that we agreed in version 3 suddenly disappeared. And, you know, luckily we've got a solicitor who's actually tracking it all and chasing it all up, which I believe we need. So, you know, I mean, just...
I think at the moment, Chairman, we've done a recce today, and it looks like, so far, I mean, £10,000, I think, just under it's been paid for this 106.
Well, you know, we had a figure at the start. So, anyway, but we are, you know, looking at it very, very carefully.
Can I somebody sign check, please? Richard and somebody else?
If things that are already agreed are omitted for whatever reason, don't we have a ground for asking for the money that it's cost us to redress that to be refunded to us?
Well, that's what we talk about things like that, but we shall see what happens in the end. But yes, it's a bit like herding cats, I think. Right. No, where are we? Okay. Oh, right, yes. Right, 1537, to consider the adoption of a recording filming policy circulated to members.
Chairman, this followed up from last meeting. The members have had 2 drafts, one from SALT and the other from Sedgemoor Legal Services to consider. And I would respectfully suggest that we go with the Sedgemoor Legal Services one, which seems to incorporate everything that we require here. We've also purchased our own voice recorder now. We tested it last week at the Sanctuary meeting, and it worked very well, and I managed to download and record on the computer. It works very well indeed. It's a good toy.
And it helps you write the minutes, maybe?
And it does, yes, it's much easier. I haven't got it running tonight, but it's quite a clever piece of equipment.
Okay. I mean, I think we do need to have this policy, because, you know, last month there was a complaint made against the council because the camera was turned off for an item, which when we looked into it, it turned out that it was not a confidential item. And so I believe that having a policy, you know, you might think it's ridiculous and not necessary, but it will actually help, you know, the person who's running the meeting or whatever to put the flesh on the bones, you know, what is a confidential item? You know, when can we turn the camera off? Things like this. It's just the physical things about it. That's what I really do think, that we need to have something that just outlines when a camera can be switched off and when you can exclude people, and it can actually be written in black and white.
Will that incorporate whose responsibility it is to switch it on and off?
That's right.
Yeah, it's
written in the policy.
It's
It
written
is
in
in
the
the
policy.
policy. But it doesn't require them to attend.
No.
No, they don't have to attend.
No.
No.
But is it is it going to be our responsibility to switch it on and off? Well, if it's not our property?
The policy is if somebody leaves a camera unattended and the council decides to go into private session, then the chairman or vice chairman will switch off the camera. Full stop.
Okay.
There's no obligation on anybody to turn the camera back on again, as I see it. Which would tend to suggest that confidential items should really be left until the end of the agenda.
Yeah, the last items on the
last
agenda.
Yeah.
But I just think it covers the parish council. It tells the person who's doing the recording exactly what they can do, and you know, it's just general guidelines.
I think it's good practice.
Without the two documents, I would suggest that the Sedgemoor will cover it.
The Sedgemoor one, it's their policy. So do we have a proposal? Is everybody happy with this now?
I'll second that we do the Sedgemoor one.
Sedgemoor one, we've got a proposer.
I'm
Yes,
second.
and we've got a seconder.
Everybody happy with it?
Is everybody happy that we adopt this policy? Show of hands, please. Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. Right. Okay. Now then, so 1338 is to amend the standing orders.
This would just be a formality, Chairman, just to add that this decision then into our standing orders, and at the same time to update the bit about emailing agendas out to members, which is a new law which came in. We can incorporate that at the same time. So just those two items will be changed in our standing orders. So everybody's happy with that. Those two alterations, I can get that done very easily.
So it's just simple things that the meetings can be filmed, and any more information about that, you look at the policy.
And documents may be emailed rather than posted to members.
Yes. So you'll have agendas on email.
I do really.
I will have a proposer and a seconder. Have we got a proposer? Thank you. And a seconder for this?
Yes, thank you.
And can we have a show of hands? Everybody's happy? Thank you very much. Right. 1539 to receive an update from the Chair of the Housing Committee on the affordable housing scheme.
Yes, following on what you said, Madam Chairman, Sedgemoor Development Committee approved cost farm application February 17th. Negotiations are underway to finalise the 106 agreement, which is a legal document, as we said, which formed part of the planning permission. The negotiations between legal representatives of the landowner, Sedgemoor District Council and Wedmore Parish Council. And the agreement requires the signatures of all three parties. The content of this is still pretty confidential until it gets signed right off. But as we're one of the signatories to the agreement, we should be making sure that our solicitor is doing what we wanted on the shopping list, which is, you know, everything we wrote down, related to this development and the community benefits for the parish. I'm hoping that this will be signed off, the document, for April meeting. So we should be able to come back and tell you a few more things, what's in it and what we have got signed. But, no, well, that'll be our April meeting, we'll be able to talk about it. We've done before then, it'll be good. But we haven't got another meeting until then, have we? So that's when it'll be.
There's a fairly big problem if it starts signing off by the end of next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just think they're trying to sort of get in a few bits and pieces. Yeah, but if our solicitor keeps hold of it and keeps on what we want, and we should be right.
Okay.
But
But it should really be signed
should
before
be
the end of
signed
March.
by the end of March.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's only now what? A week, 2 weeks? So, yeah.
18th of May.
Yeah, so that is.
Okay.
2 weeks, yes.
Yeah.
Got any questions?
If there is any variation from what we agreed, then do we have a meeting to consider that, or is it signed without our agreement?
No, we're one of the signatories.
Yes, but you say it's got to be signed by the end of March, and we haven't got a meeting before that, and we haven't seen
The Parish Council hasn't got a meeting.
Yes.
But the solicitors will still be having their meeting with the representatives, all right.
Yeah,
I was just saying, if one, say one thing
It would come
wasn't
to the housing
agreed,
committee.
It would come to
we'll
the
have the
housing.
housing committee before the end of March.
We've basically, we've told her what we want, you know.
That's been to Richard.
Yes, but it's just that if we don't achieve, say, just one thing, what is the position then? Does it go ahead despite what the parish council agreed, or does it stall until some body representing the parish council or parish council itself can talk about it?
That's been to Richard.
Yes, yeah.
I think the chances of it not achieving what's on our shopping list are very low.
Mm. Well, that's
The area that is under most discussion is around the sizing of the integrated plots, as to exactly how pepper potting is being done, whether it's singly, whether it's in twos, whether it's in fours, or whether it's in bigger ones. At the moment, we're sticking out for a worst case of 6x4 plots, which still falls within our shopping plan of being integrated. The money for the first school is already enshrined and never been an argument. The playing field and the sinking fund for the playing field are also areas that are currently under discussion. Other than that, everything else is they're really the areas that we're playing around with.
we think it's probably going to go through that.
Well,
The
the developer has a real problem if it doesn't, because the law changes 31st
Yes,
of March.
yes.
So we think it will go through. I'll raise your point, Alison, with Richard.
Any more comments on that? So 15310 is to receive an update on the village hall security matters. Andy again.
So the police now have PC Mike Shaw has visited the 3 parish village halls. 2 of them with me and 1 with Phil, his surname escapes me, Butterworth in Theale, and made some proposals, or at least not some proposals but some recommendations. Theale have issues around window security and security of items within Theale Village Hall, although there isn't a huge value there. Wedmore have issues primarily with alarms and lighting externally. Actually, Blackford is pretty good, considering you've got all new windows, all new doors, and they were all locked when we went round.
Yeah, well, it's quite new, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. The main area we need to look at all 3 village halls is alarming. There's alarming and alarm cascade. So whether it's a local alarm, or whether we want to cascade that to specific people, or whether we want to cascade that even further to the police in the event of a break-in. So I think as 3 village halls we need to get together and decide what we want to do now. Just while we're on the subject, Mike will be doing Mike has asked for to do his valuable goods marking at the Swan on Saturday. So if we're in the Swan between 12 and 2, take an iPhone and your iPad and have your phone for a free security badge for you. Posters are up around the village.
Okay, that's good. Who's doing this?
It's Mike Shaw.
Okay, that's
He's a
very good.
PCS. I'm not sure actually.
PCSO.
Is he PCS?
PCSO. Police Community Support Officer.
That's fine. He's got a uniform and a flat jacket.
Yeah.
Right.
Right, so there's nothing that we can do. You need to get
Nothing that you can do now. We need to decide the level of security you think we need.
All right, thank you. 15311 to consider recommendations from the Sanitary Committee to increase fees from the 1st of June 2015. Go for William on this one.
Okay, has everyone actually seen the proposed? Okay, I would prefer to say, has anyone got any questions? As opposed to myself just going for everyone. Has anyone got any questions at all regarding the proposed increases, or obviously in some cases freezing the costs. As a general principle, we hadn't increased any fees since 2012, and obviously we felt that with the extension and the increased maintenance of the cemetery, obviously we should increase most of the fees. As you see, we chose not to increase some of them, and we also wanted to increase the differential between parishioners and non-parishioners, as it was shown that, for instance, a parishioner of Cheddar could be buried in Wedmore Cemetery as a non-parishioner for less than what they could be buried in Cheddar as a Cheddar parishioner.
Cheddar's above the national average for burial fees.
So, bearing those sort of things in mind, obviously we were, and we are still, certainly for the parishioners, the cheapest in Sedgemoor by a long way on most of our fees. And I said we obviously want to try and encourage, make it more expensive for non-parishioners to be buried. If they want to be buried there, we're more than happy to them, or be put in the garden members, but people like to sort of like, if they want the, not quite sure, not quite what we're looking here, but if they want to be buried, if they really want to be buried in put in the garden members, then that then you should have to pay for it, as far as I'm concerned, and absolutely the other committee as well. So, as I said, I'm going to propose, as you can see, everyone's seen the proposed fees, just obviously need consent from the council as a whole that they're happy to agree to these fees, and they come into effect as of the 1st of June this year. So I don't know if it's Chair, well, I'm allowed to propose it.
Yeah,
you do. Propose it.
But in that case, I'm going to propose the fees as set out on this documentation, and I'm hoping that it will be passed by the council.
Do we have a second? Did you want to say something?
Point out for you, Madam Chair, that we did, that when it says parish, that is the civil parish. I brought it up about the fact that there's Theale and which have their own church and their own churchyard, but the actual thing, everyone in the civil parish comes under the the right, as it were, to be buried if they so wish at the fees that covers all three parishes, if you like.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got a proposer and a seconder. Is everybody happy with this? Show of hands, please, ladies and gentlemen. So 15.3.12 to consider a request for the Port Reeves to carry out non-council activities. Jessica.
I had a phone call from one of the Port Reeves, and they've had a request to attend somebody's wedding. Now, officially, I don't think we control them, but they wanted us to make the decision whether they should go for these things, because we provide all the uniform for them, their suits and what have you, and we've never had this request before, and I don't think, I would propose that we say they shouldn't do it, because I think every Tom, Dick and Harry, then they'll never have a Saturday or something to their own.
They're not keen to do it, are they?
No, they don't really want to do it, but he said don't say that, but I think that they should only do what the council thinks is proper to be done.
So if we were to say that the council does not think this is a good extension, we're actually giving them an umbrella to sit under.
Yeah.
And keep their Saturdays free apart from.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Oh
Oh no, they can come to street fair and all
yeah,
that, but it's just wedding. It's just wedding.
Right, really, is it not outside the sort of their remit?
It is.
For private
Yes.
Yes, it is. Yes,
Then
it is.
properly asked our approval.
Yeah. So
No,
I propose they don't, I must admit.
Yeah, I mean, I did have a conversation with one of the Port Reeves, and it did seem to me that it could set a precedent, that they could be invited to every wedding and every funeral in the village, and if they did it for one, they'd have to do it for the other.
And we might have difficulty in getting Port Reeves.
Yeah.
Well, the working men as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
And I don't know if it needs, well, to discuss it, I mean, would there be, was anyone suggesting there was a remuneration for that?
Well, they would have to negotiate that themselves, I think.
Well, I think that would make it even more difficult.
Yeah.
I think it's better to keep, at the
Keep
moment
clear with
anyway,
it.
keep within the guidelines or the perceived duties of it, which is the parish duties.
Yeah.
So do we have a proposer then?
I will, I'll propose that they don't do it.
So a proposer that they just stay during doing parish council functions.
Well,
Parish.
the village
Village, general village, because Harris doesn't really come under parish council, nor does the street fair.
No.
No.
It's village.
The parish
The
public
activities, aren't they?
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
And recognise parish activities.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think that.
Right, so we've got a proposer and we've got a seconder, Lindsay. Is everybody happy with that? Yeah. And somebody needs to tell the court.
No, I was going to say.
I should write the letter.
You write the letter, yeah.
Thank you.
I'd like to speak to them first, but I'll write something.
Okay. Right. 15.3.13.
This, Joe, I think I've really dealt with this one, but I had a letter in from a resident concerned about lorries going down through Guildhall Lane, and he's noticed a couple of scrapes down there recently, and he's just wondering whether the Highways Department would consider putting road narrow signs up or unsuitable for lorries or that sort of thing up there. I have taken the step already of passing it on to the Highways Department. I've told the gentleman in question not to expect anything overnight. It's going to take a while before they sort it out, and then no doubt they'll get around to it in due course, and I've left it like that. But it's just on there just for information really at the moment.
Well, they have the dust carts that they through, don't they?
Yeah, these are Arctics.
Must be careful because
Any more comments about the narrow roads and Guildhall Lane? Okay. That's 15.3.14, issues and questions raised by councillors. So if we just go round the table and see if anybody's got anything that they want to raise this evening, Jeff? No?
Yes, there's one item on the correspondence from the residents of Theale about Dangerous Bridge. Well, now you've got three that I know.
Three dangerous bridges.
Basically, one is on the main B339. Part of the walls collapsed, head wall. There's the one going out into the north just by the Pamba, which I've been on about for about 12 months and nothing happens. The last thing I heard that they were open to suggestions what they could do there. Well, I'm sorry, but they're the ones that make all the decisions, can't they? Our county councillor said they had plenty of money lying about. Why don't we get any? Do it. And there's also the one that's is in the correspondence going down.
Mrs. Drew.
Yeah.
There's an answer to that coming today. Mrs. Drew has emailed me this afternoon to say that she saw a bridge inspector out there today looking at the bridges.
Right.
And she said, that's quite efficient. So.
Yeah. Well, that is, yeah. But will anything get better?
Well, I don't know. I suppose once you say it's a dangerous bridge, they've got to come and look at it straight away.
Yeah.
Did they look at all three bridges?
I don't know what they're looking at. I mean,
the one going out into the moors, and I can't remember what the name of the road is, but that is dangerous. They have put some barricades around there, but then an Arctic comes along there and takes them a half mile down the road. And there's a gaping hole like that, straight down into the river. And it's going to be a serious accident there, I see.
I think we need to get in touch with Highways and
I'll pass it on.
our concerns.
Yeah.
Meeting
Mr. John White, I think.
Yeah.
But
he's a bridge manager. Yeah.
as he tells me, he's got 250 to deal with. So we're pretty low on the list.
Well, he's got to prioritise them somehow.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we can close that with as soon as possible. Alison, have you got anything you want to mention? No.
Neil?
No.
Right.
No. I do.
No, thank you.
Right, correspondence. Have we got no correspondence?
I've got one or two I just want to raise to council's attention here. First one's a nice easy one. Sedgemoor District Council Legal Services Department are considering hiring themselves out as lawyers at a rate lesser than the high street solicitors are charging. And Melody Wellman is running it down there, advising on planning, recruiting, all sorts of different issues. And they're asking for parish council to fill a little questionnaire. Would they be interested? Yes or no, basically. And just so they can get a rough idea, etc., whether it's worth pursuing.
Depends on what they're charging.
Well, we don't know. That's being decided. It just says a rate much less than that available on the high street.
Will they be doing this inside their paid for?
Well, I wonder, don't you? There's 6 lawyers there.
Undercutting.
Also offering a mediation service.
Well, it's very interesting. See what they're proposing.
Well, perhaps we'll just say we're interested in getting further details.
I'd be interested to see what the law society
There was another one, Chairman, from Alan Wilcox, coach driver of this parish. Everybody knows, I'm sure. He's been badgering me for a couple of weeks now to try and find out the costs or the agreements, the financial agreement between ourselves and the landowners across farm and our lawyers, and on the 106 agreement. And I have said that this is confidential information, but I'm constantly being badgered. I now had an email yesterday from him, and I gave him the same reply, but I did send one email back saying that all costs from GTH, that costs would be considered by the landowners, the parish council would be reimbursed in due course once planning permission had gone through, that sort of thing. And I gave him a copy of that, but that wasn't enough, and he sent back a freedom of information request. And I said, well, I've now got 20 days to respond, and I'll speak to you on the 17th of April. But then he came back and said, I don't want a freedom of information request, so I don't know what he's playing at the moment, quite honestly.
Be careful, because it's around there.
Yeah. Anyway, it's all confidential information. Somebody can have, I think. I spoke to one of the other councillors today, and we might just drop him a letter tomorrow outlining
Be careful what he's doing.
Well, I just want to bring that to your attention.
Well, one thing on the correspondence, there's a neighbourhood planning workshop, and Rod and I were actually planning to attend it on Monday, weren't we? We were going to go off and find out all about it. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to drop out. I can't actually manage to do it. But Rod is going to the neighbourhood planning workshop. It's in Compton, Dundon, and it's a whole day on Monday. And if any other parish council would like to take my place, no, I mean, I'm sure it'd be quite interesting actually to find out all about it.
Yes, I can.
Thank you, Nick. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be very interesting.
And also, Councillor Kilburn and myself are going to an audit seminar at our auditor in Bristol on the 31st of March. There's a new audit procedure.
Well, you can go on the 31st if you like. I'm going on the 30th.
I thought it was 31st, but then we're going in a month anyway.
Well, seeing as I'm driving, then you'll have to go when I go. Probably be safe if you drive, because you won't get there. No.
Anyway, Nick, Rod's got all the information about Compton Dundon. You have to take your own lunch, I'm afraid. Remember that bit. Right, okay, so you talked to Rod about that one. Anything else on correspondence that people would like to know something about? Nothing more on correspondence? Okay, committee report. Right, this is actually 15/3/16, Rod.
Oh,
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
yeah.
The cemetery, I think we've done that, haven't we? We've talked about the cemetery. Facilities, allotments and footpaths. Mike's not here now.
We've got about 8 allotments at the moment vacant, which is a bit concerning.
Right, okay. Finance and general purposes, there's nothing at the moment. Housing, I think we've done that. Highways, car park and brook, anything there? Jess?
along our road, and I expect Rod has seen it as well, where they did the badgers a few years ago, where it sunk. It's now sunk nearly 3 inches on the inside. Somebody is going to tip over and somebody is going to be killed because the hedge there is leaning to our field because the road has pushed it our way. And I did bring it up when, this will make you laugh, ladies and gentlemen. I did bring it up when they were doing the potholes. I can't do that now, it's not my job. And he had to go back along the road, and his thing literally went like that. I watched him go back along the road, but he couldn't look at it because it wasn't his job. So I think somebody's got to do something about it. And also, the potholes down Cock Lake are just getting like a trap.
Is this in Long Hill?
No, Long Hill's bad.
Long Hill is very
And
bad.
down in Cock Lake itself, from where Harold Lucas lives, Yew Tree Farm, right along to that bow, and then it's down round the big bow at the bottom. There's big holes.
I can sort of, the one down the bottom has actually been filled in.
Oh, has it now?
I got a feeling, Jess, they was out last week going round.
Oh, they've been out twice in 2 weeks.
Doing some potholes.
There's definitely still one
Big
pothole
one.
down in Cheddar down in Dock Lake.
Because the people that live near to it have brought it up.
I think if somebody is driving around Long Hill, near
Yeah,
where
that's
Neil
bad.
Tucker is, because I went down there the other day and that was awful, but it did have some markings on the
Yeah.
road, so they were going to address that.
They've marked it, that means it's on the
Okay.
schedule.
I think just keep a check on that, because that was dreadful. And it's nice to see the brook at Blackford looking so small.
Yeah.
Wonderfully
Yeah.
clear.
All the vegetation's
All
gone.
the vegetation's gone.
There weren't birds in the nest.
Don't start that.
Okay, right.
How long did
So
that
that's
take them? 2 months, 3 months?
quite a long time.
Yeah.
It's certainly had a few goes.
That's what once a year cut, no?
Yeah. No, that's the last financial year. You've got
Yeah,
to
that
start
was
with
last.
it.
We might get that one this year. It used to be twice a year, didn't it?
Yeah.
And now it's just once a year.
Just once a year now.
I think they did make a good job.
Yeah.
They did get in there with shovels and do it by hand as well.
Yeah.
It wasn't just sort of scraped over the timber, so they did have a good go at it.
Like level of thanks, just.
No, I wouldn't go over the top, Rob.
Fair enough.
No, not if you've seen all the blokes that was there and all the lorries that was there parked up and stop and go signs and...
No, well, it certainly looks a lot better. Planning.
First of April, the next fortnight's time.
First
We've got 7 already.
Okay, reports from representatives on committees. Via Wedmore News. Pete?
Well, it was, we had a meeting, I can't remember the actual date, but it seems as if from a financial point of view that things are running, and we had discussions on you know, the percentages of copy and advertising, and there didn't seem to be problems from that point of view. There was nothing particularly, how can I put it, controversial or anything, but it was indicated at the end that both Margaret Redmond and Liz Hall are going to retire.
Yeah.
And so that you know, I mean, that won't activate, as it were. They're still carrying on, and when the new council is elected, I assume that we've got representation. Well, you and I are the representatives on, and it always been up to either Wedmore News to get their own chairman.
Yeah.
But you know, that's quite a blow.
Well, Liz, I mean, she's worked with the Isle of Wedmore News since the days where she used to sit on the floor in her sitting room and staple it together.
Yeah.
You know, she has done it for many, many years. I know.
And Margaret's been chairman for
Margaret's been
long
chairman for a long time. Yeah. So they will be missed.
Yes.
And I don't know whether we ought to, perhaps later on in June or something, write them a letter, because I think they're staying on till June. But I think because...
I did ask them if that was in the public domain,
Yeah.
and they said yes, it was. They had suggested that they give up.
So I think when they do actually sort of hand in
I'm sure.
staplers and pencils. Perhaps the parish council, because it is a parish council magazine, should actually acknowledge what they've done for many, many years. Okay, thank you. Play areas? Wedmore, Theale, Blackford?
I had a meeting here this morning with the Secretary of the Blackford, just to go through one or two things on their report, of their maintenance report over there, and they seem to be very keen. You know,
Yeah, they are.
Committee of about 112, I think, now, over there. They're doing very well.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Nothing else on any play areas? No. Salk?
No, nothing this time.
Nothing. Wedmore Playing Fields Management?
I think it was like being discussed earlier in the meeting, really.
Yeah, okay, nothing else. On the village halls? Anything else on the village halls? Nothing else?
Can I ask a question about village halls? Just generally, sort of putting something on the table there. For the people who are on the committees of the village halls, are they subject to the same charges as everybody else in the parish, or do they get to use the hall for nothing, or a cheaper rate or anything for their own personal use?
I have no idea.
We don't know. I should be up to the constitution of the village board.
I would think so. What's on the constitutions?
I don't know. I don't want
Well, the only thing in Blackford is that, and it sounds rather sort of sombre, but if a parishioner has, and I don't think it's written, but it's been a tradition, and Margaret, my wife, has been a booking secretary now for 10 years or whatever, and the facility of the hall, if people wish to gather after a funeral, local people, for instance, when Alfie was Margaret would ring the next of kin or about, whatever, and offer that facility free, as it were, not be charged, but it is just something which is, well, ever since I've been on the committee, and that was from, well, we don't matter how many years, but it's a long time.
The specific thing that Lindsay raised was that people on the committees getting the halls at cheaper rates. So what I suggest is the village hall committee members who are here on the council go to ask the question at the next village hall committee meetings and bring an answer back to the next meeting.
Yeah,
that'd be good. Thank you.
Because I'm the second from Lindsay, I've been asked the same question.
Well, I know you don't get no discount. Well, you get Blackford rate for Blackford people, don't they?
Oh, sure.
And like you said, if there's a funeral, like, you're expected to put a donation in.
But that's not what Lindsay asked. Lindsay asked. So before we start spreading any more rumours around on YouTube, can we just get some data on this, hard facts, and report that in the next meeting?
Yeah. I think that would be a good idea.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, can I just ask that the twinning has disappeared from this list? That's the Parish Council representative of the Twinning Associations Committee. Just to inform Parish Council that this year marks the 40th anniversary of the signing of the charter between the two organisations, and that the French will be visiting Wedmore in August, and that I know that the chairman and the committee of the Twinning Association are looking to mark that, especially because it's the 40th anniversary, and perhaps there will be a request to the Parish Council for their usual support. And maybe the Parish Council might be prepared to consider supporting to a greater extent than the norm because of the 40th anniversary.
Have they got any plans? What are you going to do? I don't know. We had a reception, didn't we, one day in the Masonic Hall when they came.
That's what the usual has been. It's been a reception in Masonic Hall or Village Hall or whatever. But they might. I don't know what the plans are for marking it. But
Didn't we exchange something? And when it was 30 years.
for 25 years, they gave us the wine press.
That's right.
And we gave them the association. Gave the French a red phone box, which is still there. It doesn't have any glass in its windows, it doesn't have a door, but and it took them 4 years to persuade France Telecom to put a phone in it, but it's there and it's usable, so it's...
Well, I'm sure you'll keep us informed. We need to make sure it's on the agenda.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right, so 15.3.17. Matters of report and items for the next meeting. I've got nothing at the moment. What about?
No, I don't think so.
No, Edwin, Alison, next meeting, anything? Neil?
No.
William? No. Nothing? Nothing for the next meeting. So I declare this meeting closed at 8:35. Thank you very much.